Pop Culture, celebrating 50 years of Pepsi on Guam. Presented by Calvo Enterprises. Special thanks to
The Pepsi Bottling Company of Guam is celebrating its golden anniversary, 50 years as the top-selling soft drink brand in the Pacific. General Manager John DeKnight explains how it all began here.
Pepsi started in 1968. At that time, it was the Jones family, the brothers Ken and Bob, started Pepsi together with the Calvos, and then after a couple of years, the Calvos basically took on ownership. I think initially it was in Mighty, and then eventually moved over here to Harmon, where we're at today. Our plant is at today. The way it started was that originally it was the Joneses are from the Carolinas, and just so happened Pepsi started there. So, they were Pepsi lovers from the start, even before they got here. So when they got here, they didn't find Pepsi here. And at first what they did is they ordered, if I'm not mistaken, it was something like 10,000 cases of Pepsi, and they brought it in by ship. And the shipping costs at the time were expensive, so then they got in their mind that they're going to produce it here.
Company President John Calvo actually got his start in the family businesses with Pepsi. It was his first assignment after graduating from college.
Since the 80s, I guess I've been involved with Pepsi in some form or another, with Pepsi, the Pepsi brand and Pepsi Guam, Bottling Company of Guam, for probably definitely well over 30 years. So it's been what enjoyable is in most parts that we've gone to. Pepsi, we have the proud reputation of Pepsi being a dominant brand in the marketplaces that we represent, and that's not so much the case in other parts of the world. It was somewhat like an explorer. Exploring new markets, looking at the potential, and developing new customers. And at the time, I've been back there several times since then, not just for Pepsi, but also as president for Guam basketball and for the South Pacific Games competition. And there's been many changes in a lot of the islands, Western Samoa, American Samoa, Fiji, so on. And but there are also a lot of islands that haven't changed. I mean, they're still the same pristine island that we first visited. But our footprint certainly has grown there. We actually have a distribution partner in American Samoa, and I can say that the Pepsi brands are probably the main brands, the number one brands of that market, and continue to grow.
Many people don't know, but our region is, of course, all of Micronesia, the Northern Marianas, and maybe about half of the South Pacific. We have markets like Tonga, Samoa, and other South Pacific islands. So, in the Pepsi system, we're the biggest territory. Most of it is water, but there's a lot of island markets out there that we service. So it's actually been a long, it's a long time coming to build Pepsi to where it's at with this specific relationship. So we're pretty proud of what Pepsi's been able to do.
Initially, we were reporting to USA, and I remember those trips with my father and uncles traveling to New York and to Dallas for meetings, and then soon after that, as they were developing PepsiCo International, we started visiting their headquarters in countries like Singapore, and Vietnam, and Kuala Lumpur, and just recently, with some of our key markets, we're back to dealing with USA again, which I guess for the benefit that we see is for all intents and purposes, Guam, our markets are here are basically a U.S. product market, and that's obviously where we source most of our products from. So it makes sense that we deal with USA.
One of the things that is unique to Pepsi is that the Pepsi taste just happens to align better with the palates for like Pacific Islanders, certain indigenous people.
Pop culture, celebrating 50 years of Pepsi on Guam. Presented by Calvo Enterprises. Special thanks to
On behalf of American Press Alliance Guam, we'd like to congratulate Pepsi Guam Bottling Company for 50 years in our local community. You've grown with generations of Guamanians from celebration, milestones, events, and everyday life, and your example is something every local business should aspire to. Congratulations, Pepsi, and here's to many more successful years. Viva Pepsi!
On behalf of Coast 360 Federal Credit Union, I'd like to send our heartfelt congratulations to Pepsi Guam Bottling Company on their milestone anniversary. After 50 years of thoughtful involvement in our local community, we'd like to thank you for serving Guam's people and helping our community thrive. From all of us at Coast 360, congratulations again, and we wish Pepsi continued success for the next 50 years and beyond.
Drink Pepsi? Get stuff. Celebrate Pepsi generations and get cool retro merchandise like fridges, cruiser bikes, coolers, and jackets, plus shirts, hats, and headphones. Timeless, iconic, and back for a limited time. Collect empty Pepsi cans and bottle labels. Turn them in to get cool retro Pepsi stuff and more. See Pepsi Guam Facebook for details. This is the Pepsi for every generation. Pepsi Guam Bottling, PGB. Celebrating 50 years in Guam.
Pop culture, celebrating 50 years of Pepsi on Guam. Presented by Calvo Enterprises. Special thanks to
Pepsi brand has evolved over the years, adapting to the times, and Pepsi Guam has also worked hard to keep pace.
The industry has also changed. Obviously, the carbonated soft drink is still a major part of the business, but we've seen the addition of what we call the functional beverages, which ranges from teas to health drinks to sport drinks like Gatorade to important brands like the Starbucks beverage portfolio. So it's the beverage industry has changed, but it seems like we seem to mirror the changes in the U.S. more so than anything.
Pepsi Guam's successful expansion into the premium tea market in particular has become such a big hit, it's even drawn the attention of Pepsi partner the Lipton Company, a top global tea maker and distributor.
So of course Starbucks has done really well for us. And Lipton recently, Lipton's a big brand in Asia. If you go to the Philippines and other places, Lipton is huge. It's done very well for us on Guam too, but it's starting to even do better because they've introduced two new lines. One is called Pure Leaf, and the other is called Tea House. Tea House comes in glass. It's a super premium tea, and the Pure Leaf is a premium tea. The whole difference is that these are actual brewed teas. And really what that's all about is that the U.S. is finally just kind of catching up to us here in the Pacific, plus in Asia, where we've loved tea for a long time. The Pepsi-Lipton partnership is coming out next month because to produce these new premium teas, they went to China. They did a lot of studying, and they found out that Guam's a real mix of everything U.S., Asia, and so forth. So he's interested in coming out just to kind of get a better picture of the tea market.
Unite says the company always tries to stay on top of what the Guam market is looking for.
Local beverages that we produce, Chamorro Punch is one. We have Chamorro Cha. We have a citrus punch that we do, and that was I think in the 90s that was produced, And then more recently, we have Hanum, which is a local water brand that we produce. And that's done very well. I mean, Hanum's actually right now the #1 water in Guam. So, you know, some of the local products, we also have an ice plant here. We produce tropical ice. I think the main thing that we're proud about is that, you know, we're a local company. We're producing these global brands right here on Guam, you know, Pepsi, Dr. Pepper, all of that. So, and then on top of that, we have our local brands. So we feel like we're a good mix. And, you know, it's not easy doing production on Guam, you know, manufacturing, being that we're so far from everywhere, the planning is very critical. So, you know, we're happy that we're still able to do that.
And that's been one of the keys to the business for the past 50 years, producing the products right here on Guam.
Obviously, it would be easier just to ship in product, but you know the reason we produce is that you know we want to provide, you know, obviously you have the freshest product because it's produced here.
Coming up, a visit to the Pepsi plant in Harmon.
Pop culture, celebrating 50 years of Pepsi on Guam, presented by Cowboy Enterprises. Special thanks to
Howdy, I'm Senator Joe S. Sanoxen, your public servant in the 34th Guam Legislature. Since 1968, Pepsi Guam Bottling has been a committed supporter of many local organizations and sports teams, donating resources and raising funds for our students and police officers in the true spirit of Inafamali. To Zeus Masi, Maraming Salamat Po, and thank you to the great people of Pepsi Guam Bottling. On behalf of my family and staff, I wish you another terrific 50 years. I humbly ask for your support this coming election. Happy anniversary, Pepsi Guam. Viva Pepsi!
Bank of Guam congratulates Pepsi Guam on its 50th anniversary. Throughout its 50 years, Pepsi has been a generous contributor to various organizations, causes, and events. As a fellow local business, we appreciate Pepsi Guam's commitment to our island and its people. Pepsi and Bank of Guam have partnered to support numerous causes, most recently for the fight against cancer with the bank's block party events. Viva Pepsi Guam, and congratulations on your 50th anniversary.
This is the Pepsi that your father drank, and his father drank before he met your grandmother. This is the first Pepsi on the moon.
What?
No. Okay, fine. This might be the first Pepsi on Mars. This is the Pepsi for this model. And his mom. Hi, Cindy. Show him how it's done. This is the Pepsi that was right for Ray. Uh-huh. And your Uncle Drew, who is...
Still breaking ankles.
This is the Pepsi that's back from the future. And back for one last ride. Boom. This is the Pepsi that Britney once popped. And this one is for the king of pop. This is the Pepsi for those who are forever fun. This is the Pepsi for every generation.
Pop culture, celebrating 50 years of Pepsi on Guam, presented by Cowboy Enterprises. Special thanks to
Welcome to Pepsi Guam Bottling, where we produce many of the refreshing Pepsi products that you enjoy. Pepsi Guam Bottling is one of only 2 factories on Guam. Guam and Fiji are the only 2 islands in the Pacific that produce Pepsi, and we would like to show you how it all happens.
This is our bottling line. It can produce over 220 bottles of Pepsi per minute, which is over 13,000 bottles per hour.
The process of making Pepsi starts here in the premix room, where the Pepsi ingredients are mixed in these huge stainless steel tanks.
All the water used to produce Pepsi is sanitized and then passes through a reverse osmosis system that includes a series of filters and UV treatments. This makes sure that our treated water is the cleanest, freshest, and best tasting water on Guam. In the premix room, we also dissolve sugar in water to make simple syrup. This simple syrup is then mixed with flavored beverage concentrate to make what's called finished syrup. That finished syrup is mixed with water to make Pepsi, Diet Pepsi, and Mountain Dew.
Once the beverage is made, it needs to be packaged. The packaging process starts with a plastic preform that looks a lot like a test tube, but this is what the bottle looks like before it is blown.
To make a bottle, preforms are fed into the blow mold machine that has an oven on one side and 10 molds on the other side. The preforms are fed through the oven to soften them up a little. Then the preform is placed into a mold and compressed air is blown into the mold. The air blows up the softened preform just like you blow up a balloon, and the blown preform takes the shape of the mold being used. Here at Pepsi Guam, we have 3 different bottle molds that we use: 12 ounce, 20 ounce, and 2 liter. Right after the bottles are blown, they are fed into the air conveyor. The air conveyor is a track that holds the bottles by the neck and uses big fan blowers to blow the bottles down the line from the blow mold machine to the filler room. The machines in the filler room do the following. First, the bottles are turned upside down and rinsed out with hot water to make sure they're very clean. Then they continue on to the filler.
But let's stop for a minute and come back here to the premix room with these big stainless steel tanks.
All the Pepsi that we mixed up in the premix room and stored in the big tanks is pumped to the filler machine where the bottles are filled. Before it is filled into the bottles, the Pepsi goes through a machine called a carbo cooler, which mixes the Pepsi with treated water and CO2. It's the CO2 that gives Pepsi its fizz and bubbles. The carbo cooler is needed to cool the Pepsi to a very low temperature so that CO2 will be absorbed and mixed together with the beverage. From the carbo cooler, the Pepsi goes to the filler and gets filled into the bottles. Next, the filled bottles go to the capper, which twists the caps on the bottles. From the filler and capper, the bottles are placed on a conveyor belt which continues on to the warmer. After filling, the Pepsi in bottles are very cold, so they run through the warmer, where the bottles are sprayed with warm water to bring up the temperature of the Pepsi and to clean the outside of the bottles. As the bottles leave the warmer, they go through a blower which dries them off. After the warmer, the bottles go down the conveyor belt and through a labeler machine that wraps the product label on the bottle. Then the bottle goes by a coder that prints the production and best taste dates on the bottles. After the coder, all the bottles continue on to the shrink wrap packer. This is the machine that wraps all the bottles into cases. In the packer, the bottles are placed on a cardboard tray, wrapped with plastic shrink wrap, and then run through a tunnel oven to heat up and shrink the plastic wrap around the whole case. From the packer, the shrink-wrapped cases go down a roller conveyor to the palletizer. The palletizer is a machine that stacks the cases onto a pallet, layer by layer. The pallet stacked with cases rolls off the palletizer and is picked up by a forklift and taken to the warehouse, ready for delivery to customers.
And General Manager John DeKnight says 50 successful years of business also really comes down to the people.
A lot of it has to do with the employees here at Pepsi Guam Bottling and their hardworking staff. Without them, we wouldn't be as successful as we are. Having those great products and having that hardworking staff that, without the customers that, show us their support, the company wouldn't be where it is. So really, between our partners in business and our staff here and our customers, that's the mix that we are most grateful for.
Here at PGB, we strive to provide timely delivery of our products in great condition through excellent customer service. We provide daily servicing of our over 1,000 units of beverage coolers, vending machine, ice merchandisers, fountain machines, 5-gallon water dispensers, as well as many other equipment.
Every employee, past and present, have contributed to the success here at Pepsi Guam Bottling. We have very hardworking employees who are committed to providing excellent customer service and quality products on a daily basis. In production department, we ensure that the process of turning materials into products is performed efficiently and accurately. And guided by our food safety management system, we are able to prove our commitment to high quality and food safety by surpassing various third-party audits, which include the internationally recognized Food Safety System Certification, or FSSC 22000 standard.
I'm proud that Pepsi Guam Bottling produces locally with local employees, and I'm also very proud that Pepsi Guam Bottling participates in major events such as the Guam Micronesian Islands Fair, where we promote our culture and our hospitality to both residents and visitors.
We continually look for ways to improve service and add value to the products our customers purchase.
I've always considered my job as the fun part of the company. Under marketing, we make sure that the products we sell resonate well with our consumers. So we take national concepts and adapt them to local tastes. Under business development, we identify new business opportunities that will help in our goal in making the company a truly one-stop beverage solution company.
Pepsi Guam Bottling also takes pride in giving back to the community. More on that when we return.
Pop Culture, celebrating 50 years of Pepsi on Guam. Presented by Calvo Enterprises. Special thanks to
The law offices of Calvo, Fisher, and Jacob, LLP, would like to congratulate Pepsi on 50 wonderful years. You've grown in our local community to become more than just a business, but a household name who's touched the lives of so many. Congratulations on your success, and here's to many more years of growing with Guam.
Pop Culture, celebrating 50 years of Pepsi on Guam. Presented by Calvo Enterprises. Special thanks to
Throughout its 50-year history here, Pepsi Guam Bottling has always managed to give back.
One of the things we pride ourselves on is that we're, very involved in the community. We sponsor a lot of events. We give a lot of donations, and that can go all the way from, there's certain events that we're always involved in, different concerts, sporting events. We really are. We kind of cross-reference, and we keep track of all that. From cultural groups to sporting events to various nonprofits. We try to help where we can. Stuff comes up in the year that we sponsor, from golf tournaments, a lot of runs, a lot of village events, the village fiestas, or the village festivals. More and more the villages have, mango festival, banana. We're always involved in those. So we just try to keep up with, and sometimes it's hard to keep up. I mean, you don't realize it, but there's a lot going on in Guam. There's a lot of events every weekend. There's different things going on. So, we can't do everything, but we try.
One of the beneficiaries of Pepsi's community involvement was a young woman from Dededo who was struggling with a disease and needed a more comfortable vehicle. Eleanor San Nicolas is the mother of a young woman who was entered in a Pepsi-sponsored contest who had her prayers answered.
When they called her name, Jermaine was San Nicolas from Dededo, I started crying. I was so happy. My daughter looked at me, she goes, "Mom," in a whispering voice, they called my name. I said, "Jermaine, you won the car." Then my husband looked at me, she goes, "Why are you yelling? Why are you crying?" I said, "Oh my God, your daughter won the car." And we were so blessed. It so happened that my son, my third oldest, was looking into getting us a vehicle for her. And it happened to be the same type of car. And I called him, I said, "Your sister won the car." He goes, "No way." I called the other brothers, because there's 5 of them. All their response was, "No way, I don't believe it, no way." I called my boss and I thanked her for letting me be off that day, and she goes, "Congratulations." I went to work that following Sunday and I told them, my staff, my daughter won the car. They were so happy, and it's unbelievable. It was a dream come true, and we still have the car today, driven as it was won from the start. The stickers, everything's still the same, and we love it. And it's a blessing to her that it's all right today.
Jermaine was taken by her disease, but the family will never forget that day she won. Pepsi also sponsors many major sporting events, such as the annual Payless Kick the Fat 5K and Health Fair.
In line with our Payless Markets Community Foundation objectives of improving the lives of our community in the areas of health, social services, education, and the environment, our Payless Kick the Fat is our annual community event. In a way that we give back to our community through a 5K and a health fair. And we invite vendors in the community, nonprofit organizations that have services that contribute to improving the lives of our community. So every year for 22 years we have had and organized our annual Payless Kick the Fat 5K. Every year Pepsi has been a sponsor and Gatorade as well. And this year, this is our 22nd year, they have volunteered to be part of our water stop, and they have a booth in our health fair, and they are giving out free Gatorade.
Pepsi is also a strong supporter of community cultural events, including the Japan Autumn Festival.
It's been sponsoring us over 20 years. Yeah. They come and set up the drink station well, even their staff stays there and help us. They distributing the soft drinks and ice to the stations. It's really big help for us. On behalf of the Japanese Autumn Festival Committee, I'd like to extend our heartfelt appreciation for your long support over 20 years. And without your support and cooperation, we could never make one of Guam's biggest festival so successful. Really, thank you very much. And again, congratulations on your golden anniversary.
Thank you very much, Pepsi and Gatorade, for being a partner in our community and in our community events. And we wish you all the best for another half a century. Congratulations.
I would like to congratulate Pepsi for your 50th anniversary, and we love Pepsi. We are a Pepsi fan, and we won't stop drinking Pepsi.
And that's what company president John Calvo says makes it all the more worthwhile.
That's a fun part of the business, being able to support the sporting community, raising funds for worthy causes, and that always is an enjoyable, rewarding part of this business. And it changes. I mean, going back to Guam Major League, and then now, through the years, I've seen even the consumer preferences have changed. So along with music, whether it's music or personal preferences, I mean that's been the enjoyable part, trying to guess what the consumer, the next big thing that the consumer is looking at.
Congratulations, Pepsi Guam Bottling, on your golden anniversary.
Pop Culture, celebrating 50 years of Pepsi on Guam. Presented by Calvo Enterprises. Special thanks to
Drink Pepsi? Get stuff. Celebrate Pepsi generations and get cool retro merchandise like fridges, cruiser bikes, coolers, and jackets, plus shirts, hats, and headphones. Timeless, iconic, and back for a limited time. Collect empty Pepsi cans and bottle labels. Turn them in to get cool retro Pepsi stuff and more. See Pepsi Guam Facebook for details. This is the Pepsi for every generation. Pepsi Guam Bottling, PGB. Celebrating 50 years in Guam.